Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Not Your Average Investor Show, where we are going to look at 2520 Ebersole Road, Jacksonville, Florida, 32216. It is a property that cash flows over $200 per month and is less than 6 miles from 150 plus upscale shops and restaurants. It's like Christmas. You're in the new studio, and it's like Christmas for me because we are officially live on Facebook for the Not Your Average Investor Show Thursday edition, the JWB Property of the Week. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez. Welcome, everybody. With me, as always, the man they call GC because he's got these genius concepts, because he generates cash flows, because he's a great co-host, and it's also coincidentally because his name is Gregg Cohen. Say hello, Greg.
Thank you, brother. Happy to be with you all.
I am happy to be here, too, to watch you kick off the studio. I can't wait till COVID restrictions are lifted and we're living in a semi-normal world, in our new normal, so I can join you in that studio, right? Like there is multiple mics, there's multiple cameras that we're going to start using. And speaking of multiple things, we got a couple of big things coming out today. Today we are, number one, we're announcing the raffle.
Hell yeah, we are.
Somebody's about to make some money. I was kind of thinking earlier that if it was me that won it, you probably would have acted weird, and you didn't act weird. So I guess somebody else gets the 8 Gs.
I would have maybe had like this weird smile on my face when we were doing the pre-show. Like I had something. It's not you, Pablo.
Well, that's okay. I think it would have been a little bit weird if I won. People would have thought something was up. We also have a breaking news market update announcement of what is happening with inventory at JWB that we're going to announce as well. And we are profiling this property on 2520 Ebersole Road, 32216 in Jacksonville. It's it's in a new neighborhood. And so it's going to be exciting. And I got one last announcement. As a new homeowner, I got a little present from JWB.
Ooh, what is that, brother?
It is an automated wine bottle opener. If under different circumstances, I'd be popping one open right now and just drinking on the job, but I don't want to let everybody here down.
Well, that is super exciting, man. Like I was telling you, I didn't even know that we did that for new clients. That's our service team, just at work, just making sure that our clients feel extra special.
It's pretty cool, man. You know, I didn't know it was coming. And then I went over to the Richie's house one day and I saw that they had some JWB stuff. He's like, "Oh, you haven't gotten one yet? Like, I'm surprised. Didn't you close already?" I was like, "No, but I guess I'm going to get a present at some point." So, you know.
I think those are supposed to be those aha moments, those like moments of truth that people aren't supposed to be expecting them. So if everybody could just, use the Men in Black plan and just forget that you saw that when you become a client and just forget that would be awesome.
We are making it harder and harder to under-promise out here, buddy, but you continue to over-deliver. So anybody that is joining us for the first time, welcome. For our family, the Not Your Average Investors that are always in here, that we love seeing you. Leo, welcome back. Lee, Jennifer, welcome back. We saw Jake earlier. We saw Scott Bellotti. Spoiler alert, we got a future Not Your Average Investor Show star in the house. We got Margaret Smith is here. We got Jake. We got John Henning. Welcome, everybody. As you all know, and you're doing it very, very well, there is 2 ways to interact with us, and we want interaction. We want you chatting with each other. The best way to do that is in that chat function. But when you pop open that thing where you're typing, there's a little blue box that says panelists. We need you to drop that down and put panelists and attendees. So that way everybody else sees it, not just me and GC hogging up all the good info that you're putting out there. And second is, if you want a question asked on the show, which we highly encourage, we're going to dive into those ASAP. As soon as you start popping them in there, I start asking. You pop open the Q&A. There's a separate Q&A function. The reason why I ask that is not because I'm trying to make your life difficult. It's because my life is really difficult and I need you to help me, because the Q&A, it keeps the question in front of me while the chat keeps going, and you're going to see that people are going to be talking. Gregory Stone, yes, thank you, man. It is a nice wine bottle opener. You are only talking to us. If you want to talk to everybody else, you got to change it to panelists and attendees. Ken Moline, good to see you back. A Not Your Average Investor Show alumni. There he is, Greg. You got it, man. And last but not least, if you want to tinker with this tool that I'm going to be messing around with here for the next 45 minutes or so, go to jwbroi.com. You can use it to analyze all your real estate deals, all your investments, and it's going to be really, really useful for you if that's what you are into. So without further ado, Greg, we're going to reveal this property. Then we're going to make the market announcement, and at exactly 12:50, we got 12 minutes. We're going to reveal the raffle winner so that everybody is here on board. Nobody misses out on that piece. And then we'll go back into the questions and back into the property. You ready, buddy?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, if I'm not in the studio, but I'm just going to magically whisk us away over here to where are we going? We're going to 2520 Ebersole Road. It's in the South Side neighborhood of Jacksonville that is close to St. John's Town Center, right? So it is within 6 miles of 150 upscale shops and restaurants that we're going to talk about. And it cash flows over $200 a month, right? So for those of you that are listening to us in your ear, thank you. Welcome. You are on the podcast in the future in about a week, most likely. We just popped it on the screen. The address, I've already said it. The purchase price is $217,000. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Nicely looking with a brick facade. I like this. This is pretty. I like brick facades. On a driveway. It's got leased out for $1,475 a month. And the star of the show, the thing that you come for, the investment returns. It's got an estimated conventional financing total monthly cash flow of $215. And it's got a estimated conventional financing total ROI of 8.45%. Gregg, I think I just went out of order. I was supposed to do the market announcement, but you want to just break down.
It's your show, brother. Like I say, where you go, I'll follow. I mean, I think that's a great place to start. Everybody can understand the property that we're going to be highlighting today. And I know this is when questions start to usually get fired in. So don't be bashful. Go ahead and fire those questions in. It's obviously on a first come, first served basis when it comes to questions, and we want to be able to answer them all. So I think we're good there, but should we go into a little bit of an announcement for everybody? Good segue?
Yeah, let's break out the announcement, man.
Well, I wish that this was all exciting when it comes to this announcement, but it's not exactly exciting. I'll just kind of start there, right? You know, we've been talking about the limitations on inventory across the country. We've been talking about how months of inventory is incredibly low. And, you know, those dynamics are here in Jacksonville as well, right? Those dynamics affect JWB. And what you've heard me say for a long time is that, you know, I didn't think that would lead to a waiting list or anything of that nature. And the reason is because we have been planning for this for many, many years, that we have been stocking up and stockpiling land for many years. And all of that is very true, right? We have been stockpiling land for a very long time. What I didn't anticipate, and that what not many people could have anticipated, is what it takes to actually get a building permit these days. So really, we've started to see building permits slow to a snail's pace. And when you combine the dramatic increase in sales and demand that we see here, and if you extrapolate this in other parts of the country that you're seeing, and you combine that with you can't get a building permit in any way, shape, or form, or they just trickle out, it can create short-term, temporary, limited availability of inventory. And so I wanted to share this with you all as soon as I knew this, as soon as I could, to make sure that I could prepare all of you and give you as long as a runway as possible, because that's really what the point of the show is to be transparent. But I do see limited inventory available now for clients, and I don't know when it's going to stop. You know, it really is one of those things that we try to measure and look at the number of building permits that we have down at the building department and try to estimate, knowing that those typically come after a certain amount of time. But right now we have over 150 permits waiting to be approved at the building department. We've never had 150 permits waiting at the building department. That's an absurd number.
What's the usual amount of permits that you have pending at the building department?
Well, I don't know what the normal would be, but typically they get approved in 30 to 45 days. So I would imagine we start, you know, typically we'll start 30, maybe 40 houses a month on average. So you would imagine that, you know, 30 days or maybe 30 to 60 permits at a time would be pretty typical. The real number that is even more concerning is we're just 10% of the permits that the building department has. They have over 1,500 permits here in Duval County because a lot of the elements that we've been talking about on this show, right? Builders see low inventory, they see prices going up, and they want to build as much as they can. And so the building department is just flat out overrun. And so the way this is going to land, this confluence of huge increase in sales, right? Our sales have absolutely gone way up, especially over the last 6 months to the previous 6 months. With the slowdown and getting permits received can create these short-term temporary inventory issues. So, this isn't a great, super exciting announcement. This is just reality. One of the things that we looked at, and this is the first that we are sharing of this because we literally made this decision yesterday, is that in an effort to make the best of this situation and to be fair for all new potential clients and all current clients, what we're doing is we're limiting the number of purchases that a client can make at one time to one property. And that's effective now and going forward. So for any new clients that are purchasing, you can still purchase properties. We do not have a waiting list as we stand here today. We do have inventory for you, but what we're going to do is to limit it to one purchase. And it'll be the same way that we treat our current clients who have their buying plans and plans to add properties years and years and years so they can continue their buying plans. We really feel like this is the most fair and equitable way to do it. But, that's what I see. And if I'm being conservative, I don't know when this is going to change, to be quite honest, because I have no idea when the building department is going to get back to normal. It can be a quick solution if I'm being totally rosy and optimistic, because as soon as the building department starts to release those permits, those are houses that people can purchase, right? That's when we make them available. But like I said, I'll give you some numbers. Last month, the building department released 4 permits. They have 150. The average days that it's taken to release a permit is over 75 days now. I don't know how high that's going to go. So we feel like this is the best thing to do to protect all involved, to allow people to continue to be able to take part in this asset class right now. But if I'm thinking about the worst case scenario, I could see the potential for a waiting list for JWB clients, which is something you never heard me say before. That could be a reality. I do think that would be a very short-term thing because, long-term, there's no concern here, right? We have 150 permits at the building department, which means that we're building 150 houses like today, right? If we could get those permits, right? We'll be starting 600 houses this year. And so there's no long-term concerns for inventory for our current clients, for our new clients who want to continue to build their portfolio and take advantage of this asset class. But just the reality, short-term, we feel like this is the best thing to do to limit it to one purchase per person.
Okay, so let me ask a couple clarifying questions. First of all, Jen Filzen says here in the chat, backups and building permits are slow everywhere. We're having the same troubles all over California, right? So that makes a lot of sense. This is the low interest kind of environment makes people build, right? Everywhere, and Jacksonville is not one. This confluence of things has the building department completely confused. And so Lee Bishop asks, is that one purchase at a time or one per month? What do you mean by one at a time? Is it just like one per mortgage application kind of thing? Is that the limit? Is that kind of the bottleneck?
Yes, but you can make one purchase at a time. So Lee, if you're adding a property to your portfolio, you can reach out to our team. We'll go ahead. We'll have properties available for you. You can select one of those. You can complete that purchase. And then if you'd like to make another purchase, we go through that entire process again.
Great. Stevie B asks, as I don't know the Jax market, is the current environment enticing builders to create multifamily apartments? Is that the same tree that we're barking up here? Or are they doing the same things?
Yeah, absolutely. People are building whatever they can. Right now, when interest rates are this low and you're talking about assets and real estate that potentially cash flow, this is that time. It's never been more clear that you can get higher cash flows today and that prices are going up in the future. It's never been more clear for me, for my team, for many of our clients, for builders out there. And so everybody is taking all of that capital that they had that is searching for the best risk-adjusted return on investment. And if they're a builder, they're a developer, they're doing it right now. And the building department's just way overloaded.
Got it. And, I want to shine a little light on here when you say that this could be resolved quickly. Having come from the building construction world, I've seen, and we had Steve Wernick on that talked about land use, right? He was my client for a while. He's a land use guy. I know for a fact that some cities outsource their building department, other cities manage it in-house, and other cities manage it in-house and then outsource a building department when needed, right? So if the city was ready to innovate, and that is, again, on the side of the city, that vehicle is a formula that other cities have done, right? Like I lived through Miami during explosive growth again, and that's kind of what happened. They just go out there. There is companies that you can outsource this stuff to that work as a mixture of in-house, out-of-house team for you that you can outsource this stuff to. That will greatly relieve the pipeline. I would imagine that onboarding probably takes about a month would be for something like that. So that would be the perspective I give just from past experience. Lee Bishop asks, is COVID affecting inspectors for permits rights, or is this just strictly a supply demand thing?
It's mainly a supply and demand thing, right? If we go all the way back to the middle of last year, we talked about how JWB responded to COVID, and it was all systems go in terms of our team, right? Nobody lost their job at JWB because of a COVID issue. That was one of the things we wanted to true up first, because if we trued that up, made sure everybody on the team knew that they didn't have to worry about their place of employment while the whole world was turned upside down, then our clients would benefit from it, and it's gone according to that plan. With one exception, we made the decision to scale back our builds a little bit, right? Probably about half of the builds, right? If we were building 40 a month, we probably started about 20 a month for a number of months there. Call that maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, right? And, that slowdown contributed as well, right? Those would have been builds that would have been permitted before the rush that everybody else has been on, but you think about the what ifs, and, the impossible. I mean, we have to go back to what it really felt like in March 2020. Yeah. So that was probably the prudent play. But if you could have absolutely painted this with a paintbrush and said 100% perfect, the right way to do it is, I wish we wouldn't have slowed those builds. That would have incrementally increased the number of builds that we have here. And who knows, maybe you've gotten us through this huge surge of building permits and the demand there without us having to limit inventory, because it's not what I want to do. It's not what anybody on my team wants to do. I can tell you that. It's just reality. And we just feel like it's the best thing to do, to get out in front of it as much as possible, and also to avoid a waiting list. That's really our hope.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I'm going to summarize this, and then let's get into the raffle announcement, right? Well, Lee Bishop asked, is the permit for new builds only? Or is this for all building permits, like remodeling, whatever?
Specifically, I'm talking about the building permits for new builds. We're not having issues with inspections and whatnot for renovations. The challenge there, though, is just finding inventory if you're only talking about renovations. That's why we have a huge opportunity here to be able to solve the inventory issues, because we build and create our own inventory. Everybody else who has to just buy renovations just can't keep up just because of that.
Got it. All right. So I'm going to summarize a little bit here. You're announcing right now that you still have inventory available. You are decreeing that you will only sell one house per investor at a time. So you have to go through the mortgage process and the approval to buy one at a time. And that's the only limiting factor. It is not a lack of inventory per se, as much as you have the pipeline, you have the land, you have the lot selected, you have the house designs done, you have everything that you could have done. This is a outlier thing that happened at the building department that got backed up. That's a procedural issue, not a business planning issue. So even though in the past you have said that, that you don't put clients on a waiting list, you're still not putting clients on a waiting list. But as of right now, it is a one per purchase move in order to make sure that all clients can continue to build their investing future closest to the schedule possible.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're exactly right.
Okay. Well, there you go, man. Man, I applaud you once again, right? Like I think when we talked about this before the show, you're like, man, I'm not really pumped about giving this announcement. Like maybe we do it at the end, and then again, right? Like this is why we have the show. It is because nobody else communicates proactively when it's not good news. Everybody loves to beat their chest when they're doing something awesome. I myself, on a personal level, always struggle when it's like I'm telling somebody something that I don't think that they really want to hear, man. So I think good job on that. And now let's move on to unequivocally good news, Greg. We had the JWB Cares 50/50 raffle for the golf tournament. Why don't you give a little scope of what the raffle was about, and then tell us who the lucky winner is that I'm going to ask for $100 from?
Well, this raffle is about changing the life of one very special person in our Jacksonville community. Every year we get the honor to host a charity golf tournament. We get the honor of working with clients and our vendors and our team to come together to raise a ton of money. We raised over $130,000 this year and had this wonderful celebration, of which Pablo was the MC at our charity golf tournament on Monday. Many of you chimed in, so I appreciate all of your messages of support. Pablo, did you have a good time out there?
I had a great time, man. I'm a little still tired from that day, but it was a really, really good time.
It was awesome. I was talking to my mom the other day and she's like, tell me about the charity golf tournament. How was it? And I was just like, it was one of those moments where just everything just seems to be going well, right? You're doing a really good thing to help somebody that makes you feel good, right? You're out there in an environment where you can have fun with people, right? It was on a golf course, so we could all be socially distanced. And how amazing is that to be able to just be sort of in the same vicinity as somebody out there and to see smiling faces, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I needed it.
From our team perspective, this is a big part of building our culture, being able to volunteer, work together, really make a difference in somebody's life. So there's a benefit there. How about the weather? It was like 70 degrees and sunny. I mean, it was one of those moments where it just felt like everything was so right for one special afternoon. And so that was incredible. I want to say thank you to everybody who was a part of this. We had record numbers of you donate, which I'm going to get to in just a second for the raffle. Record numbers of you as far as sponsoring, being players. We had 144 players, which was a stacked field, and just so appreciative. So that's a natural segue to what do we do with that money? Well, 3 years ago, we decided that instead of just giving a check to an organization that we thought very fondly of, we decided to do something a little bit more JWB like, and we build new construction homes. And we said, well, how about we use this money to build a new construction home and to give that home to a veteran who has served our country admirably and needs a helping hand. And we've done that. This is the 3rd year that we're doing that. And so this culminates in the home donation, which we're super excited about. All that money raised goes to the home that was just built. And the additional money that we have left over is going to go to building homes in 2022. And we hope, and we think it's a possibility, we've never done this before, but instead of just building one home, our hope and our intention, if we can raise enough sponsorship dollars, is to do 2 homes in 2022, which would be just incredible. So the way that we did all of this, worked for a year to raise this money, but really over the last few weeks or so, we said, let's make this a way where everybody can get involved. And so we did a 50-50 raffle, which means the money that we donated from all of you out there, from you, Pablo, from members of my team, all went to this 50-50 raffle. And 50% of the money goes to JWB Cares for the purpose of hopefully building those 2 homes. And 50% goes to one lucky winner. And that's what we get to announce now.
Let's hear it, man. Do I need to do a drum roll? Do a drum roll?
Let me just give you the stats here because you all going to be blown away. I was blown away when I heard this. All right. So for the 50-50 raffle, we had 3,953 tickets sold. Amazing. You all are so caring, so giving. We raised $16,828. Amazing. 50% of that means that $8,414 is going to the winner. And would you like to do the drum roll?
I don't want to break my desk again.
The winner is Zachary Miller.
Zachary Miller, lucky fella. Very nice.
Zachary Miller is a lucky winner here. So Zachary, if you're on the show here, we appreciate you being here. Congratulations. Big congratulations to everybody. I mean, I just can't tell you, you all came together, and we had never done the 50-50 raffle in the past, but it was such a hit. We're excited to do this going forward, and just thank you all for your support.
Very cool, Greg. I'm happy to be a part of it. I'm a little bit bummed I didn't win. I have lost a ton in the stock market in the last week, and that would have been really, really nice. I was going to put it into a JWB house. Still, I'm going to do it because it only proved the point. But it's been I got a chance to. It was a great honor that you gave me to kind of kick that thing off, right? And it was just, I feel very fortunate to sit in this position where I get to see everything that JWB is doing, be informed on everything that JWB is doing, and feel everything that JWB is doing, right? So when I kicked off that golf tournament, for those of you that weren't there, I just asked everybody to look around and take a moment to appreciate that feeling, right? The feeling that you and I get on the Not Your Average Investor show, this idea that everybody on your team is this overly bubbly, very friendly, very, very service oriented person that's, always a pleasure to deal with. The way that you have molded that culture that also permeates to your service providers, right? Like I asked everybody to raise their hand who was a service provider. Almost everybody raised their hand. I was like, who's a client? And there was only a couple. And I'm like, man, I'm, like, what's going on, guys? Right. But this idea that the network that you guys draw around you and the way that the people that you pull in and the way that you channel that energy, man, is really, really special. So it was really cool to be a part of that. And, Stevie B here puts, Gregg, sincerely, this is going back to your announcement that you just said, right? But like, Gregg, sincerely, it's your personal character and integrity that led me to choose JWB and keeps me engaged. Thank you for allowing yourself to be vulnerable and sharing your truth. I also appreciate your altruism. You're a good dude. Again, thank you. Now I got to go back to my day job. Take care. So I'm not the only one that feels this, man. I'm glad I get to be the speaker voice of it. And, I don't think you get to say this about yourself. So I think somebody's got to say it, man. So congrats on a great tournament. Congrats on an awesome initiative. Unbelievable that you raised $16,000 and sold all those tickets for such a good cause. And I'm happy for you, Zach Miller. No hard feelings, buddy.
Well, thank you all. Stevie, thanks for the support. Pablo, thank you for the kind words. I get to be the voice from inside JWB here. There is so much effort, so much activity, so much care by our team. It's a team victory to be able to do these things. It's a victory for the community, and I just love being here with you guys. This is awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Gregg, let me ask you a quick clarification on the announcement that you just made. Dominic Albano's he's in the mortgage process. He's looking to buy 3 houses. Are people already in the process? Is this for them too? Or if you're already in the process, you're able to.
Right. If you've already put a property under contract, or 3 or 5 or 10 properties under contract, and you're currently going through the process, you're good. You're good. We took that into account. We projected going forward, how many months of inventory do we have? Just like I analyzed the overall Jacksonville real estate market, we analyzed that on a micro level. And so this would just affect a new purchase once you would be done with your current properties under contract. Currently, you'd only be able to purchase one additional one the next time it came around.
There you go, Dominic. That's some good news right there. So let's dive back into, if anybody has any more questions about that, please bring them forward. Let's dive into this property, Gregg. Let's do the usual here. Just to recap, $217,000. It is monthly cash flow of $215 a month and a total ROI of 8.45%. Can you please break down for anybody that's new here, anybody that hasn't been part of one of these calls, what does that total monthly cash flow number represent?
Absolutely. So that $215 represents the amount of cash flow you'll receive on what we call a normal month. A normal month is how most of your months will be as a client of JWB owning rental properties. Normal month is when you have the rent coming in, you don't have any maintenance costs or expenses or things of that nature, right? You have your normal expenses. And so to quickly get to that 215, you would just take your rental income coming in. You would take out the expenses that happen every single month, which are your principal payments, your interest payments, your property taxes, your property insurance costs, and your monthly property management fees. In a normal month, you're going to have that income coming in, you're going to have those expenses, and what's left over is $215 estimated here.
Okay, so that is the typical scenario for you, right? You're typically going to make $215 that you can put in the bank. You can spend it on maybe like one earphone for Apple, or you can just kind of save it up and buy more rental properties, right? You can take out the wife to dinner and then have a couple bucks left over, depending on your budget, right? What about this estimated conventional financing total ROI of 8.45%? What does that include and what does that not include?
So that $215 is slightly myopic when you look at it, right? To me, what that represents is this asset paying for itself. That reduces risk. that makes it scalable to invest in this asset class. Because the reality is, if you're trying to accomplish a big goal, as many of our clients are, you're probably not going to get there with one property or two properties or three properties, right? It many times is 5 or 10, maybe even more properties, right? So when you look at 215, don't think that $215 is going to change your life, right? Look at 215 and say, wow, this asset pays for itself every single month. I still have 4 other profit centers that are actually even more impactful in delivering a return on investment. And now, if I'm with the right team, I can make this scalable, right? The alternative, if it was negative $215 and you wanted to add 10 properties to your portfolio, you're not so excited every single time you add one of those properties, because you got to come out of pocket, right? You'd be coming out of pocket a couple $1,000s a month at that point if you had 10, right? So look at 215 and say, well, that's great, right? Probably not going to change my life. That's cool. It's paying for itself, and it makes this asset class scalable. Now, that 8.45% is a more of a holistic view, right? Not only does the 8.45% take into account the good things that we didn't include in that 215, right? It includes tax savings and principal pay down, which are 2 additional profit centers for you. It also includes some of the bad things that we didn't include in the original $215 a month. So it includes the negative items such as maintenance costs, vacancy cost, full tenant placement fees. When you put a resident in your home, you have a fee for that. So it's going to include the full burden there. It includes all of those things. You get that net amount and you divide it by your initial investment. And the market right now is bearing over 8% is where we want to be, 8 to 10%. And so when we can find an asset like that, put it together for you on a silver platter, that's one that I'm going to recommend for you. And that's what we have here for this property.
Got it. So we got a couple of good questions here. So Jeffrey Bolton, I think that's a new name. Welcome, Jeffrey. Good to have you here. And I'm assuming because of the way that it populated and the way that he spelled his name and the last name Bolton, maybe, are you in Europe? Are you English, Jeffrey? Just a guess. Let me know if I'm right. He says, why not deduct the vacancy and maintenance reserves while you were talking about cash flow? I believe that's, like, recontextualize that now for the ROI part.
Yeah, absolutely. So we include that in the return on investment calculations, because you want to make sure you have a full picture of what's going on. But you also want to know what it's going to be like on a normal month, right? So we kind of give both perspectives there. The total monthly cash flow shows what a normal month is going to be. When you talk about all of those other factors, right? Maintenance cost, vacancy cost, full tenant placement fees, those things bring down your return on investment. Right? You buoy those with some of the other positive things like tax savings and principal pay down. You get a more reflective return on investment calculation there. And that still leaves out one major profit center for us, actually the most impactful profit center long-term, which is, Pablo?
This profit center that we have here at 0%, the appreciation rate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess if you're gonna tease me like that, Greg, why don't we talk about why it said 0%?
But you know what? Let me give a little bit more of a direct answer, because I want to make sure that I didn't like discount or not fully answer Jeff's question, because it's a very good one, right? Mm-hmm. What Jeff, I think, may be getting at is, why not include maintenance and vacancy when it comes to your total monthly cash flow, right? Well, part of that is because I don't know when maintenance and vacancy is going to happen, right? For one of these assets, you're going to have a 2 to 3 year lease signed right off the bat. So the chances of having vacancy in the first year, not very high, right? This house was either just built or just newly renovated. So the chances of you having maintenance costs in the full year, not very high, right? So, but what we're showing here is that 8.45%. Well, if you did have the full maintenance costs in the first year, you would still have an 8.45%. What it highlights here is that maintenance costs don't happen every single year. Over time, you're going to have years where they come in under. And usually while your home is rented, you are under when it comes to the total cost of your maintenance, which is a good thing. You want to be under for maintenance costs, right? If you're under for maintenance costs versus expectations, you're going to most likely be over for return expectations, which is what we want. But it's going to be under most of the time while your home is rented. And then when your resident leaves, you're going to get kind of like a punch to the gut. You're going to have a bad year for maintenance costs because most of your maintenance costs come during the property turn. And so we know this, right? The chances are in your first year, right, your maintenance costs are going to be a lot lower, but I don't exactly know when your property is going to turn over. At some point, your property is going to turn over. And at some point, things are going to come back to the norm with that maintenance rate of 6% of the rents. And this is also why we build and manage our property management business a certain way. We understand how maintenance costs happen, and we engineer our entire property management model to have residents stay as long as possible. Because if you have them stay as long as possible, then you defer that punch to the gut a very long time. And that's what we want, right? If we could have your first turnover be in 4.5 years on average versus 1 year, that's how we can make you win in rental properties. Whereas if you go with a typical property management company, they only sign 1-year leases and they have a lot of 1-year turnovers. So hopefully that provided a little bit more color as to really how you should look at maintenance cost over the long haul and build your assumptions that way.
I think that was plenty of color, Greg. I got out of it, the differentiation between what you normally feel and then that cash flow that is that 215, and then this holistic picture that you're looking at that is really the total ROI that you're investing in long term, which is the type of investor profile that you're looking for. And then I also came to understand that year one, that's really what it actually looks like 99% of the time, because you're not going to have maintenance and vacancy on year one because you have a specific strategy of long-term success that starts in year one. So, it works out that way, right? Am I on there?
You're right. I just caution against setting the expectation that you're not going to have any maintenance and vacancy in year one. Like, let's face it, you've got a family living in your home, and you know what? Things can go awry, right? That's just the reality. We're really good at it. So I wouldn't want people to go in and expect that they're not going to have any maintenance or vacancy in year one. Generally speaking, looking at a portfolio of 3,700 homes, generally speaking, we are under expectations for maintenance and vacancy costs, meaning the costs come in lower than the 3% and 6% that I show you there in the first year. And they stay that way until you have a property turn. And our average property turn happens 4.5 years after the resident comes on board initially. So, but just know that maintenance and vacancy are a risk at any point in time. So if you buy a property and you have a maintenance issue or a vacancy issue in month 9, that's okay, right? That's normal, right? This is certainly not something that you're going to find any guarantees as far as no maintenance or vacancy.
Yeah, it's people, right? So like it's as variable as there are people and there are circumstances in life. All right. So you did kind of give me a little jab in the ribs there about the highest profit center, the most rewarding profit center that we call it. So if appreciation rate's the most rewarding profit center, what's up with that 0%, Greg?
So you'll see we put 0% on our property valuations. We do this for a couple of different reasons. Number one, we like to underpromise and overdeliver. We want you coming on with an expectation that your returns are going to be here, and we want them to be here, because we know that if we do that, it's going to create a wonderful feeling, and you're going to be inclined to come back and buy many more houses with us and refer your friends and family. So, and then when we look at the returns that we can earn absent home price appreciation, they're really good, right? Earning an 8% return on your money is great. Consistency and 8% on your money is great. Pablo, and can I throw a little salt in the wound for you? Just for the benefit of the show and for the people on the show, right? Yeah, I mean, the variability of the stock market is what driving people here, right? Pablo, you had an incredible run with Peloton, and it's really chapped you the last couple of weeks.
Two weeks. Like all I wanted to do was make it to cap gains, like 1 year reduction. Literally in that 2-week span, it went from this astronomical thing to losing $12,000 in value.
And extrapolate that. Imagine that what you just experienced there was you investing for 40 years in the stock market. You had a nice run. It's 2 weeks before you're set to retire and pull that money out or change the distribution scenarios or put in different asset classes. You went to pull it out, and 2 weeks prior, you dropped 25% or whatever, like your stock just did.
Yeah.
Right. That's what people are trying to avoid. That's why people are looking for an alternative to the stock market. And that's what's driving a lot of people to rental property. So if you can get an 8% return and historically been a lot more consistent, then, that's great. And we don't have to show property appreciation to make it great. Like there's a market for that, at that. So there's part of the reason that we put the evaluations this way is because of those two factors, right? We don't need to super inflate returns to make this an appealing asset class. And the other one is that in order to evaluate home price appreciation the right way, you need to be invested for a full market cycle. What many people don't do correctly is they go to one end of the spectrum or the other. When I was investing in 2006 and before, everybody and their mother thought that real estate went up in value every single year. Like the thought that real estate values would not go up every single year was asinine and nobody did it, right? Well, that's not the right way to evaluate home price appreciation because we quickly learned that in 2008 to 2011 as market values dropped 35%, that's not the case. And since then, everybody has gone to the other end of the spectrum, as we tend to do in this country, right? We now are at this spectrum where it's like, I don't even want to think about home price appreciation. No, not gonna evaluate it. Not gonna think about it. I remember what happened in 2008 to 2011. I'm not gonna consider it. I'm only gonna think about cash flow. That's all I'm gonna look at. I'm gonna be myopic. I got cash flow blinders on. And guess what? That's not the right way to do it as well. The right way to do it is to be in the middle. And if you look at how home prices have actually appreciated over decades, over full market cycles, what you'll find is that your next market cycle appreciation rate is going to be very similar to the historically accurate average appreciation rate for your market. We've seen this in Jacksonville. We see it in markets across the country. If you take 10, 15, 20-year segments and look at the average appreciation rates, most of the time is very similar to the historically accurate home price appreciation rate. In Jacksonville, it happens to be 4.3%. This is coming from the Federal Housing Finance Agency website, which is available for all of you to go and check out. You can go to FHFA.org, I believe, .gov. That would make sense. It's a government website.
.gov.
.gov. Thank you.
Also known.
Thank you. Thank you for that pronunciation. Is that Spanish?
See.
So you can go there. Since 1991, on average, each year, Jacksonville has appreciated 4.3% per year. So what our clients do is they say, okay, I'm going to be invested for a full market cycle. At that point, I think with a high degree of confidence that my home price appreciation rate on average each year is largely going to model what the previous market cycles were. And so at that point, if you're invested for a full market cycle, 10 to 20 years, you can count on home price appreciation. And when you do, that's where the Jacksonville market really starts to shine compared to other cash flowing markets, because Jacksonville's home price appreciation rate is sometimes close to double what other markets appreciate at, like Cleveland, Kansas City, Birmingham, Memphis. That's what separates Jacksonville's market.
Got it. So I put in that 4.3%, assuming that I did, right? I just bought a home. I'm going to be here for 20, 25 years in that investment. And the 8% total RI shot up to 24.09%. You want to explain that real quick?
Yeah, this is the beauty of why I'm such an advocate for smart debt. And especially right now, as interest rates are so low, smart debt allows you to capitalize on all of the profit centers in rental property investing. It's like steroids for rental property investing as far as maximizing profit centers, right? Specifically for home price appreciation, when your market value goes up 4% in a year, if you bought it in cash, your return on investment from that appreciation is 4%. Because you put all of the money into the deal, right? If you want to follow along at home with your home phone calculator, let's say that you bought a property for $100,000 and in the first year it went up 4%. Your home value would be worth what, Pablo?
$104,000.
That's right. So that's a $4,000 gain. If you want to see what your return on investment is from that, you take $4,000 and you divide it by your amount invested, your initial investment, which is $100,000 in this example. So 4,000 divided by 100,000 is 4%. All right. Now, if you are using smart debt, this equation changes. Market value went up 4% for that $100,000 property, but we bought it with conventional financing. Pablo, what's that market value?
The market value is 217. Oh, wait. Oh, we're still doing the $100,000.
Yeah,
Okay. So it went up 4%. It went up to $104,000.
exactly. Right. It still went up $4,000. Right. Right. You got financing, but the value still went up $4,000. So $4,000 is your return, but you put it over your initial investment. And let's say you put 25% down. Pablo, if you put 25% down on a $100,000 purchase, how much money did you actually put down?
$25,000.
So 4,000 divided by 25,000 equals 16%. This is the power of using smart leverage in a growth market. You're earning a 16% return just from the home price appreciation. And that's just one profit center. So if we can go back to how people don't think about home price appreciation the right way, if you've got your cash flow blinders on here, right, you're missing analyzing and taking into account the biggest potential profit center if you're not paying to real estate market's home price appreciation level. You really are. But 16% plus roughly 8% that was there from the other profit centers that we had gets you to roughly 24%, which is now the return on investment, including home price appreciation on an annualized basis.
That was sweet. I don't know if it's the whole studio thing, the microphone, the earphones, but you sound really good today, Gregg. So let's get into some of these questions here. So Paul Schaefer has a question. 2520 Ebersol is a huge lot, at least on Google Maps. Any chance that he can subdivide that and building/sell half of it off?
I have good news and bad news. Which do you want first?
Yes.
Pablo, you can speak. You can speak for it.
I'll take the bad news first.
The bad news is that it would not increase your returns on investment if you could do that. The good news is that he's 100% right that you can subdivide the lot. JWB took this into account when we purchased the property. We subdivided the lot. We actually own the lot next door, and at some point we'll build a new construction home next door. So that was a part of the purchase for us. We factored that in. We will actually be and have already divided that. And so this lot, even though it looks on Google like it's huge, it's actually a half the size of that.
So more good news is the idea that your resident is going to have another happy resident next door, and they're going to have an even better, a better experience because they're going to have a happy neighbor because JWB Property Management is in there. Just throwing it out there. Paul also says that the satellite view appears to show a pool. Does it have a pool?
Does not have a pool.
Not have a pool. All right. Sorry, Paul. Lee Bishop asks, I see it has an open carport. Does that mean it has a shed?
You know, I didn't double check on that. Our standard approach is to put a shed. It depends on how much storage is in the home. This is a larger home, has a double carport there. So I'm not 100% certain if we would put a shed there. Okay. Maybe not.
All right. Murph Hayes. Welcome, Murph. I think that's the first time I read your name because I was name.
I know Murph. Long time no see, long time client. Good to see you, Murph. Thanks for being here.
I'm strangely attracted to that name, Murph. I think it's really cool. It sounds like a rock star or something like that. All right. What is roof age and type? Do you know?
Oh, geez, Murph. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I know that we would be able to give you that information. So I'm always one phone call away. And the phone call that I would have is to our sales team. So Murph, just reach out to your portfolio manager. We're happy to give you all that information.
All right, cool. Gregory Stone says in the chat, dibs on the eventual new construction on that lot.
Yeah, I know. Well, I can't wait till we can build it.
You got it, bud. All right. Leo from California has a question. Have you guys heard about bonus depreciation? I attended another asset class, my sister's, and one of the topics in the bonus is the bonus depreciation. Cost segregation was also discussed, and becoming a real estate investor to fully maximize bonus depreciation. But becoming a real estate investor, you have to show at the IRS that you spent 750 hours in your real estate business. What are your thoughts? I'm also talking to my accountant about this, but what are your thoughts gathering info for my knowledge?
Yes, I think this is something that can be a big benefit for you to explore. So I'm happy that you're doing that. What he's talking about is that we all have the opportunity to really increase our tax savings on rental properties in a certain way. And that would be if you were recognized as a real estate professional, and then there are certain requirements to meet. When we're talking about tax savings, and again, I'm not a CPA, right? I'm just a real estate investor who's lived it for 15 years. So talk to your CPA before doing anything based on what I'm telling you. But largely, your write-offs for depreciation are limited to writing off your passive gains. Okay. There's a difference between your active income and active gains versus your passive income and passive gains. And when we talk about depreciation for the property, you're able to write off a huge write-off, right? But it can only go against the passive gains from real estate and other like assets like that. So Pablo, if you made $1 million this year,
Go on.
which I know you're on track to do with your marketing business because it's the best out there, and you had, 1 million rental properties and they were all kicking off this amazing tax write-off, right? You wouldn't be able to use that write-off to write off your income on the active side, unless you're a real estate professional. If you're a real estate professional, there are ways for you to be able to take that write-off of depreciation and write it off against some of your active income. So this does not apply to most of our clients because, again, our clients are here to be passive and they do not want to be real estate professionals. I'm not exactly sure the number of hours you have to commit to it and the licenses and whatnot, but you have to do a lot of work to be able to do this. But if you're inclined to do that, if you're already a real estate professional, it's a wonderful advantage for you to be able to even maximize your tax savings even more than we talk about, which would potentially be writing off some of your active income.
Cool. That's first time I ever hear about that. So great. Love it. Great contribution to the show. Leo, as usual. Margaret Smith asks, and I zoomed in for you. Can't read the info about septic. Does it say city or does it say septic or city sewer? I seem to recall that your maintenance percentage is higher if you have a septic system versus sewer system. So this is a sewer system, maintenance rate at 6%. Anything to add there, Greg?
No, you nailed it. It would be higher if it was a septic property. It would be 9%. If it's a renovated property on septic, and that's really good to know in advance, and the only way that the numbers work if you're going to be buying properties that are on septic is if you get a better deal elsewhere, meaning that your rents are higher or your purchase prices are lower, or maybe the property taxes are lower. And that's when we would be able to sell a property that's on septic. It has to be a better deal in other places because from a maintenance perspective, you're going to have a slight uptick in maintenance. And we know all this because we track all of our properties. Since 2011, we track actual maintenance costs by septic, by sewer, by new construction. And so we would let you know that in advance. This happens to be on sewer. And so historically, our maintenance costs come in at 6% of rents collected on average each year.
And just to play around, Greg, right? Because you talk about this idea that JWB uses real data. You use actual historical data for actual houses. So you're not just taking it out of a magazine and putting 6%. If, let's say, you were dealing with a property manager or another turnkey rental income property that was using a catalog number and they just put 6%, and this really was a septic tank and it really was 9%, it would drop your ROI almost a full percent.
I'm really glad you did that, man. And all the time that we've been doing this, we never kind of went through that exercise, but I think that's incredibly valuable for people to see, right? Think about every investor out there who has bought a property on a septic tank, never been able to see or justify or maybe ask the question if they should be using a different maintenance percentage. But, if somebody told you were going to earn 8.45% on your money, and after the first year, the most realistic chances you had is that you're going to earn a 7.5% return on investment, that encapsulates why most people are underwhelmed with investing in rental property, right? It's because they were sold this. They didn't think about all these things that you can only get from managing 3,700 properties for 15 years now, using that data to everybody's advantage to set those expectations. And then now we know that we really still can hit that 8% plus expected return on investment. So that was great, man. Good job.
Man, I'm glad we went there, right? Because now I'm thinking about when I first got this contract with you and I first uneducatedly was talking to my friend. Remember my buddy Chris Kraft?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, man, this is nice. Like, dude, it's never that. Like, you don't get real returns. And, like now it's all kind of coming together of this idea that he had this terrible experience and really didn't think that there was any money in rental properties because there's so much minutia, right? There's so much of that. And again, it's another reason to go to jwbroi.com, download this tool, whatever somebody is selling you in another market. If you're looking in another market as well, or you're looking for another provider, you can just run apples to apples, use this sheet, right? Like use this as a resource. I think it's really, really valuable, man. I'm glad we're putting it out there. Nadeem Shaw has a question here. Will the lender require an appraiser to do an appraisal of a JWB property when that lender has been working with JWB and has taken the JWB appraisal value? It's a lot of JWBs there.
JWB times 8. I like it. Let's just see how many sentences we can put with the JWB in there. And maybe this will catch on. Simple answer. Yes. Every property that has a conventional loan will get an appraisal. We know enough about market values in the neighborhood to set the purchase price based on other appraisals that have had for other properties that have sold in that area. So we know exactly what the appraisal should come in at. But Nadeem, if you're purchasing this property, you would get a separate independent appraisal to justify that value.
All right, great. Gregg, it's 1:30 and we just ran out of questions, man. We hit it on the button.
Man, this was great. This is great, man. I just feel super thankful to be here and to be a part of the show. This is awesome.
Yeah. Peter Adley put in the chat, who pays the closing costs?
They're split traditionally. You'll typically have in Florida what the buyers pay and what the sellers pay, and we just stick right to that.
Yeah, and I think also, Peter, is the idea that, am I sharing the wrong thing here? Let me stop sharing.
You are.
And be more efficient about it. There we go. Is the fact that, Peter, the closing costs are included in this, right?
They are.
Gregg?
Yeah.
If you go to analysis of conventional financing in the sheet, which you can download at jwbri.com, is down payment, right? Mortgage payment, finance amount. Is this where am I looking in the right place? Oh, closing.
You're close.
Here we go.
Yeah, there you are. Yeah.
Closing in.
Over time, you can see that formula up there. It's about 2.5% of the purchase price is what we generally will see for closing costs. Some will come in a little bit lower, some will come in a little bit higher, but when you have as many closings as we have, we can give really great estimates here. And the most important thing is that we're factoring that into your return on investment. Again, that's a lot of, if we go back to your friend Chris's example, he bought a rental property expecting this and then didn't factor in the closing costs, didn't factor in that it was on a septic tank, didn't factor it was this and that and the other thing. And then it's just like death by 1,000 cuts. And that's why most people don't enjoy being a landlord. There's a stigma against it. You can see these things. So if we can understand what those are, put it in our analysis up front, and then just simply hit that, hopefully, improve on a little bit more, under promise and over deliver, then that's our secret for success.
Will I break this sheet if I delete this thing right here? And then just to show how they would inflate closing costs if it wasn't included in something like this?
Yeah, just hit delete. You're good.
So nervous. Okay. Here we go. It just went up 9.3%, right? So that's another way that they can inflate your expectations and then under deliver.
We've just shown just by, and you're not, think about this, Pablo, you're not in the real estate business, right? You're not incentivized to come up with ways to make returns higher to sell properties, right? But just by happenstance, through the septic versus sewer change there, and by eliminating closing costs from the calculation, you just bumped returns up 2%.
Yeah.
When you're selling investments, bumping returns up 2% typically matters. And on the flip side, if you fail to hit your estimated returns by 2%, people generally aren't happy. And you weren't even trying. Imagine if you were financially motivated to actually find all of those things when putting an estimated return sheet together for people. Unfortunately, that's how it is for many turnkey providers. And unfortunately, that's why many people are underwhelmed when it comes to rental properties. And it's just a shame that it diminishes their desire to get into this asset class.
There you go. That's why we have this show. We shine the light on the good things and the bad things. Thursdays are always a blast with you, Gregg. I look at those walls and I think of all the great shows that they will witness and all the great things that they will witness. And this is just the first one, man. So I'm super pumped that we got to take that baby for a test drive today, man. You look good. You sound good. Sean Fletcher asked earlier if he buys a house, does he get one of those sweet JWB jackets?
We got something special for you. I don't know if it'll be this jacket, Sean, but we got something good for you. As you can see from Pablo, that's not the last time Pablo will get a little something from the team.
A little automated wine bottle opener, and it comes with its own battery. So look at that. Really nice. Really nice. This was great. And next week is Matt Mcgee. Matt Mcgee next week comes from a commodities trader family background, and he is just somebody that's well seeped in every single investment class, follows all like the really nerdy newsletter stuff. I think it's going to be a really, really high level talk about different asset classes. And another thing fascinating about Matt Mcgee is that in his late 30s, the guy decided that he wants to be a dentist and he went back to school for dentistry, right? So the mindset of how you go back into like taking these exams, going back to school after making a ton of money in the market and already having these investments and stuff lined up, I think is really, really fascinating, man. It's going to be a really interesting conversation. Go to jwbroi.com to download this tool. Hope to see you in the Facebook group. Gregg, I'm going to leave it up to you to say goodbye, my friend.
Well, I'm super excited to chat with Matt next week. I haven't chatted with him in a number of years, but I remember my initial phone calls with Matt, and I actually got to help Matt choose his first properties with JWB. He's since up to number 15. So somebody who has lived the JWB experience, super successful guy outside of JWB, super successful entrepreneur, commodities trader. And then with this type of success, I just love the story that he goes back to school. And I just think that relates so well to everybody that's a part of this group. So super excited to share his story. Thank you all for your support with the charity golf tournament. Pablo, thank you for being there, brother. You really bring a light and a voice to what we do here that nobody else can replicate. So I appreciate all of your support, brother. And yeah, super excited to be with you guys. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next Tuesday.